I was just thinking this was really good. It'd be nice to like go back and play
Go
it
back
again.
and watch this.
Oops.
Yeah, I mentioned
That's okay. Well, nothing was happening except for in breakout rooms anyway, so we didn't miss anything yet.
It's just Don talking to himself. That's all you missed. That's all you missed.
Just so you know, all spring I had a folded up piece of paper sitting on my laptop that says record and make sure you read this saying to the kids that where you get permission. Because if I did not have that little note sitting on my laptop, I would have never remembered.
I'm glad. I'm gonna have to pin one to the monitor here.
All right.
Okay, so
shall I share my screen and talk about things?
Yeah, jump right in. Go for it.
All right. So we're not finished with this conversation yet, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and work on that right now. You had your particular slide that you were assigned to talk about, and now what we're going to do is we're going to get a chance to look at what was on the other slides, but we're going to do it in our breakout groups. So we're going to put you back in the same breakout room, and your group is going to go to the next number. And so if I was in group 1, I'm going to go to group 2. If I was in group 5, I'm going to go to group 1. And so that's where I'm at right now, is group 1. And I'm a group 5 member, and now I'm looking over their slide, and you know, I have a thought about something that they wrote. And so what I'd like you to consider doing, and if you have had any, you know, and we have all different levels of, you know, reaction to these words, but visible thinking training, then you may have done a chalk talk before, but it kind of in the vein of a chalk talk, if you know what I'm talking about here. Basically, we're going to talk to each other, but we're going to do it on the slide. So for example, I want to talk to this group right now, equipment concerns, availability. Well, I have a thought about that. And so I'm going to insert a text box, and I'm going to write it near there. If I feel like I need to put a little arrow to it, I will. But please use a different color font, okay? So, so that we can, I'm going to find my font color here. So let me see. Have you thought, I'll change my font size later, about kits and, you know, sending kids kits, and I'm gonna, you know, do that. But maybe somebody, oh, hello, went to school with you. That was fun. I'm on my touchpad, which I just hooked up the mouse, and of course, did I lose it? I did. I lost it. Hold on. Following the remote arrow. And I should. See, this is going to be great for me. I'm like super clumsy with online, so this is how it's going to feel. What have we got in slide? What was that on slide 3?
I think we all are, Laura. I don't think any of us are like adept at this, so don't worry about it.
No. So somebody helped me with the changing the color of the font, but you get the idea. Thank you for that while I was fumbling back through it. And so, but basically we're going to talk to each other kind of in a chalk talk kind of fashion. And so if you feel like your comment is connected to another comment, which is connected to another comment, you might want to do lines or arrows to connect that. But we're also going to do it in our small groups too. So you can chat within your small group. It doesn't need to be a silent chalk talk like is usually the protocol. But we want the group, what's going to happen is you're going to come back to your original slide at the end of this and read the comments and respond. Okay.
Or there is commentary going on in the.
Yeah, I haven't seen the chat. I noticed
about using the comment box instead of text box.
Oh, okay. Well, we could try that.
It's right to the left of background up there.
Okay, we could try that. You want to try that instead? I'm fine with either one.
I think it's a little stealthier.
Okay, that sounds great. All right. So is everybody clear and what we are doing? I'm going to stop sharing. Don, are you able to put us back into the breakouts?
Yeah, you guys ready?
Okay, remember you're going to the next slide.
Same breakout group, but the next slide.
Correct.
All right. Hi, Mike.
Hey, oh, I'm unmuted.
I unmuted you. That's why.
Oh, you did. Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
To be honest, it's going great.
Yeah, looks good. I mean, it's a great structure. I'm just reading the slide. And by the way, I got the slides from yesterday. They were still in my browser.
Perfect.
So, yeah, I love this. I'm really interested to see how they think about these components and to see, you know, where they square up with them. So it's interesting.
Well, what I find fascinating about this group is that there are varying levels of expertise. I mean, there are some very experienced and thoughtful people in these groups, and then there are some people with very little experience that want to learn. And you're seeing that in the conversation. You're seeing small group conversation like that, which is very cool. Jumping around to the breakout rooms, discussions are really, they're good. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the people are being really thoughtful about it.
Well, they just are so revealing. You know, it tells us where we are and what we need to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, don't let me hold you out from that.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, right now they're doing a thing where they are, well, they're not doing anything currently. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe I should jump in. Okay, I'm gonna go do that. Do you want to go to a room?
Yeah, sure. I'll pop in. Just stick me somewhere. So they're going around to these different PowerPoint slides.
Yeah.
Making comments. So this is what they already did today so far.
So they had an original slide where they filled in the left side and right side, and now they're going to the next room to make comments.
Okay, good. Yeah, pop me in somewhere.
All right. How about room 3?
Thank you.
Hey, man.
Do you want to go back to group 3?
Yes, please.
What is up?
Seems like this last point about points being given for participation is valid whether you're in the classroom or on through computers or whatever. You know, it seems like that's always been kind of a question: is how do we tie in grading with this if we want them to be making bold actions and not being afraid of being wrong? How do you tie that to a grade?
That leads me to such a story from this last segment of remote learning, Ben. I had a parent get very irate because I had to have student participation each week, and one of those they were supposed to join Google Meets, or I had other assignments they could do if they had technical issues. But this student refused to do that, although they were going through the other learning just perfect. And the parent accused me of, this is like giving students a grade if they raise their hand in class, and how ludicrous it was. It's like, oh, great.
Yeah, I don't think that's a virtual only issue, getting all kids participating in the discussion. That's always an issue. Right?
Yeah.
Well, it's also,
it might just be a little bit harder.
You can also tie the discussion or participation into, I believe that's one of the science and engineering practices is
communicate.
Oh, We just asked the question, he shows up.
What's the question?
Are we supposed to move on when we're done with this slide, or are we? Is there some organizational system for when it's time to switch?
We're going to move on in 1 minute.
Okay, perfect.
That was the note I got from from the brains behind the organization.
Excellent. We all knew who the boss is, Don. That's okay.
Yeah, no one's confused what's happening here.
So that may be one way.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about it yesterday as well, that it seems that it's a lot easier to have conversations or discussions in the small breakout rooms. But the problem there is that as Don just pops in, you're not always monitoring what's going on in those rooms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, unless you pop in, eavesdrop for a little bit, then walk away. When you're in the classroom, your ears are, you know, even though you're really listening to one, your ears are listening to some other groups at the same time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With Ransom being able to share the screen, is there in these breakout rooms, is there an owner for this conversation, or can we all do something the same? As Ransom
you can offer to share your screen as well. I think I don't know if I have to stop.
Well, no, Ransom, I just clicked on it. It says this will stop others' screen sharing. So basically, I can go and just whoever goes in last.
Okay.
Did you guys see
with that question? Can you record?
Yes, I was just going to say that same question. Are you recording 5 different breakout rooms right now?
No, it only records the main room.
Yeah, so maybe can Ransom record or?
Yeah, well, Don, it says recording in the corner still.
Well,
is it recording because you're here?
Yeah, so it records the main room. If you recorded the cloud, if you record to the computer, which I'm doing, recording it to my computer, it'll record wherever I am.
Gotcha.
Did you guys see my message to move on to the next slide?
No.
Yeah, so move on to the next slide. Okay, and do the same thing.
All right. It says, Don,
yeah.
There actually is a record button down here for me. It says request recording permission from the meeting host.
All right, great.
So I don't know if there's...
Don't record, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that a little deeper.
Yeah, just to see if there's an option to allow us to record it as a subset of your recording.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I asked is because if you have students in a group, you can have
doing something, and depending on how much you have them do behind the scenes, I think is what could lead to an issue.
Did you guys see my note to move on to the next slide?
Yeah, we're there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Five.
No. Mm-mm.
So is there another word for that?
Yeah, I think you're thinking of the lab practicum.
Practicum.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the paradigm lab is the introductory experience that gives the students a common experience.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm just bad with the lingo. Always.
All right, I am too sometimes. So.
Like, you know, but if kids have Chromebooks, there are some limitations for some of these apps that it's either apps limitations based on the device or limitations placed on the device by the district. You know, so there's some districts that don't let kids access things the same way as they might if the kid owned the device themselves.
That's been a huge question for me as I've been planning things here lately is I want to use different things, but I have no idea. I've tried to contact the tech person, but there's only one person and not getting answers is hard.
Did you guys move on to the next slide?
Yeah.
Yep, we're on 3.
Perfect. I'm just making sure.
Website, you're putting all your stuff on Schoology, and it's all just like file folders and things. Like you've got a folder for the week, and within that folder you have different assignments for that week. It's pretty straightforward.
The
So it's
problem that I
almost,
found, because I saw it from both sides as both a teacher and a parent, because my kids, you know, especially my daughter, and my daughter was in 6th grade, so they had 3 6th grade teachers that were like her teacher, but for different parts. So trying to navigate to figure out what assignments she actually had for the week was kind of a nightmare. Trying to figure out where it is. It's all kind of guess what's in the teacher's head, where they would file stuff and things. And so it was tough. If you, we weren't supposed to put due dates for stuff, but if you didn't put a due date, then the kids would never see it, that it was an assignment that they were supposed to work on. So then I was like putting due dates and going, but you don't have to do this. It's only if you can, you know, type thing. So it was just, it was kind of
so
crazy.
does each teacher have their own Schoology page, or?
Yes.
Yes. Now, if you had multiple teachers teaching the same thing, you could, you know, have multiple teachers on a class and collaborate and put things on there. I think we didn't do that, but you could possibly do that.
Did you guys move on to the next room? Are you?
Yeah, I'm on
I
4,
guess,
right?
you know what, I guess my question then is, if you, oh, okay. Are we supposed to be, I thought they were telling us, or are we supposed to move on? Oh gosh,
So
sorry.
I sent a message that said, move to the next room.
Okay.
Sorry, I
No,
missed
no,
that.
it's fine. Well, so one of the things that I can do as the host is I can send a message to everyone in a breakout room. So it should come, where did it come, to your screen?
I didn't see it. That's
I
why.
didn't either. We didn't see
Oh,
it.
Mark did.
Oh, Mark
Oh,
saw it?
say it.
more, depth out of their conversation.
But that happens in the classroom too, and it happens in everyday conversation, and that's part of the socialization that they don't, might not get.
All right, moving right along.
Last slide. Okay.
Why am I muted? Why when I change rooms am I muted? I don't want to mute. Yeah, so move to the last room. Thank you.
We tried to
necessarily how to engage with one another or what they are supposed to be doing in those small groups.
Absolutely. Teaching the technology needs to come along with it.
I suppose we should move on to slide 5.
Move the last one.
Oh, hi, Don.
Hi. If you're getting an echo, someone who's not talking needs to mute because it's coming in through their computer speakers and then going into their computer microphone. That's what the echo is. So if you're not talking, mute. It'll make things easier. So go to the last room.
Video analysis, something they can do at home.
Yeah.
I want you guys to move to the Sharon, are we driving? What is happening right now?
She is, I think. My daughter is driving. I've literally been sitting an hour here waiting for her to get off of work. But I'm here. I am here. Very hot, but I'm
Man, I love everything about that. That is awesome. Yeah, so move on to the last room, make some comments, and we'll finish up here in a couple minutes.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, yeah, we're in discourse then?
Yes.
Yes.
Both mom and dad are here, guys. We have to act nice.
Yeah. No more swearing or anything.
Did you guys see the broadcast message to move on to the last room?
Yeah, we're on the last one.
Okay. You saw the broadcast message though?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Cool. All right, fantastic.
I didn't see it. I stepped away to do some vacuuming.
I'm going to figure out how to do this electronically, if it kills me or not, because my paper copy is somewhere too, who knows where.
So you use the editing software to like highlight it and so forth?
Highlight, mark it up.
Got it.
Yeah, just basically like I would a piece of paper, but I was doing it all electronically. So it's not as awesome. I definitely prefer having the paper, but like I said, I wasn't going to print 34 pages and my husband wasn't going to go into the office. So I just went to plan B.
Was it something on your computer or were you able to do it like on a phone?
So actually, I checked out Notability, but I ended up actually just using, I think it was just Adobe Acrobat Reader.
Okay.
One of those two was, I was on one device doing it with one and then the other device doing something different. But I ended up really just settling with the Adobe Acrobat Reader, and I could highlight and I could put sticky notes on there and things like that. So, I mean, it was a fair backup plan.
Did you guys move to the last room?
Yes, we did.
Perfect. All right, we're gonna give you just another minute or so to make your comments, then we'll bring you guys back.
All right.
Hello.
How was it?
Good. I think there's a lot of tool sharing right now, which is fine. I mean, because that's a huge thing for people right now to figure out how to. Oh, by the way, we're recording, so let's unrecord for a minute. I'll text it.
That's a good idea.
Like Graham's backup picture.
One of my kids is knocking on the door.
Uh-oh, you stayed in the house, Laura?
Where else am I gonna go?
Go to the neighbors. Go to the neighbor's house. Drive there.
I'm at my art gallery.
Ooh.
There are no dogs here.
Is that the church, Carrie?
That's the gallery. Yeah, this is the gallery.
Oh man, I always wanted to go to a church party. Oh my god.
Oh, there you are.
Are you still having those?
A church party?
Yeah, I
Sure.
remember.
I'm having one this afternoon as soon as we're done.
What's a church party, Mike? Tell us more about church party.
Well, Carrie bought a church out in the Thumb somewhere out by you, Rob. And when she first bought it, she was throwing some summer parties that I got invited to for a while, but then I stopped getting my invitation.
I don't think we're gonna do it this year. No offense.
Oh.
Are we back? Are we all back? Awesome. How was it? Good enough? A little bit more deep conversation, hopefully. So now we asked in the last broadcast, I think the broadcast messages, I think those are not, I want them to like take up your whole screen with a broadcast message. Like I want it to come across and be like, read this thing, right? Because I mean, I'm guilty of missing some when I was, on different Zoom. Because if someone's sharing their screen and you're trying to read that and you don't notice, or, you're listening but not looking, because that's an actual thing too, right? I want them to be bigger, but what do I know? So
yeah, and we were all working on our Google document, so I didn't have the Zoom screen up, and so it didn't even come through. It was on my other monitor, which I wasn't looking at.
Is there a way you can add a timer to the breakout rooms just so that you could physically watch it count down?
So I can add a timer, but I don't know if it shows up on your screen. Next time we do breakouts, I'll put a timer on and we'll see what happens.
I think you can, because Sporkle uses Zoom and they do it. Yeah. We get 2 minutes for our questions.
You can, and it'll pop up. Like if you give each breakout room, like let's say 10 minutes, you can set it for like a 5-minute warning or a 2-minute warning, and it'll show up in each room so they know how much time they have left.
All right.
Well, we're gonna have to try that next time. So tips and tricks is a reason we're here, right? Because those things are important, but we're actually here for what I would say is a much bigger purpose, and that's to try to figure out what is it we do, why do we do it, and how might it look different moving forward in the remote era. But just like in the classroom, one of the things you guys said yesterday is, we as teachers in the modeling classroom, we really focus on the why of the world and not the what of the world. I think that in this setting today, we need to figure out the why do we do these things, not as much as the what do we do. The what do we did yesterday, but now we're really trying to dig into the, well, why. So for example, if I look at the slides, if I look at the slide, like the Paradigm Lab, why do we do it? So I would really like to know, like, what do you think? And of course, we all looked at the slides, but I mean, it's like, this is the real question. Why do we do the Paradigm Lab? Why do we do discourse? Why do we do the deployment activities? Why do we develop a culture of learning? By the way, this one right here, this develop a culture of learning, this was by far the most difficult. I mean, bar none, this is the most difficult question. And there's two things about this one that are important. One, why do we develop a culture of learning? We have a sense that it's really important. And in those classes where it's happened, you've known it and you've been able to sense it. And those are these classes where, and you hear about them, like the kids in this class, they would do anything that I asked them to do. Well, why is that? Or you get this one all the time, like you have some kids that you hear other teachers say like, these kids are a real problem. And in your class, you're like, these kids aren't a problem for me at all. Probably because you have developed a culture in there that brings them into the fold and allows them to learn and be who they are. Those things don't happen on their own. They don't just, kids don't show up and be like, you know what we're going to do today? We're going to develop our own culture of learning. Those things are teacher-centered and they're super important. The problem is that we don't often go out of our way to do that. When I work, I oftentimes will travel. Oh, I traveled to, God, where were we, Gaylord? And I was talking about the fact that like, I will take 4 or 5 of the first days of school and just do culture building on the 4 or 5 days of school, first 4 or 5 days of school, because I think it's so important. And some of the people have said, oh, will you share some activities with us so we can try to do this thing? And one of the participants in the workshop says, I would never do that. The content that I teach is way too important. I would never waste 5 days on that. And I was so kind of put off by that commentary because even though like, we know that those things can really be useful, her paradigm was that I don't want to waste time doing that thing. And it's just so interesting to me. So developing a culture of learning is the hardest one that we have to deal with. But I really do think that it's probably going to be the most important one moving forward, because how are you going to get kids to participate? How are you going to get kids that are on the border of disenfranchisement anyway, where if they're in front of you, you can lean on them hard, you know, and lean on the relationship that you've built. But then, you know, when they don't even have to show up, you're like, how are you going to get them? So I think it's the hardest one, but probably the most important one. Okay, so I asked you to nominate someone. Laura, can you tell us what do you want the nominee to do for them?
Yeah, so you originally put together this slide in your group of your thinking. So we were hoping that you could share some of that thinking and then maybe respond to 1 or 2 of the comments or questions that were added to your slide as other groups looked at it.
Yeah, say that again.
Sure. So we're asking you to kind of comment on like what your discussion was, the original discussion was, what you thought were some of the most important points that were brought up and that you put on your slide originally, and then perhaps respond to some comments or questions that were there, but not everything, because we won't have time to do everything. So some of the most important points.
Yeah, so did group 1, did you nominate someone, or does someone, or you voluntold someone, or someone volunteered? What are the highlights from your slide, do you feel? So this is a problem because we don't know, because we didn't have to put your names on the slide, like who was in group 1. See, that's like a logistical problem. But it's totally fine. It's totally fine.
So I can talk on this one.
Thank you.
So when looking at this paradigm lab, we really talked about how I mean, without that lab, you really don't have, why are we here even then? You know, that's kind of the connection to what it is we're looking at, and it gives a thing to focus on. It gives a thing to refer back to. A great way of bringing out the misconceptions. What else do we see? I mean, it really kind of hammers home that here's what we're talking about. And then we really kind of got into the different tools and availabilities of, you know, this seems like, yes, it would be much better to be able to have students be doing this in the classroom, but per group, is there a way to do this where, you know, where one of the students is doing it at home, or where you are doing it? We actually had quite a conversation about where the teacher says, all right, here's the things I'm going to have. You guys as a group come up and tell me what I'm going to do. We'll all watch that and see what's going on. And just really kind of trying to figure out how to get usable data that can be shared amongst all of the students.
It's also worth noting that a class like physics or physical science might be a lot easier, whereas if you were given a chemistry class, I'm not sure as though you'd be able to acquire all the materials, or students would.
I can imagine biology might be a little bit difficult too, you know, dissections and stuff. Comments, Michael, we were a little bit thrown off by Paradigm Lab ends with an incipient model, which is a simple beginning version of the target model.
Please explain that to us, Mike. We're all in confusion.
Okay. Left that one in there. So I've been working with a lot of framework enhancers. And so when we think about the modeling cycle, we think about these, this trajectory from our first activity, which generates evidence and answers a question. And the answer to that question a lot of times is the beginning of our model. We might end up with, in physics, we might end up with some component of our constant velocity model. And over the series of deployments and new investigations, we end up fleshing that out and it becomes a more complete model. And so the Paradigm Lab is a fundamental component of the modeling cycle. It's the beginning of the modeling cycle. And it's really an investigation that leads to discourse and a description of our conception of whatever that might be. In chemistry, they spent many units developing the particle model, and after the first unit, the Paradigm Lab gives them a really basic idea that particles are small little beads of some kind. And ultimately, our target model is the product of a series of investigations where we use our modeling cycle. We do more investigations. We use worksheets sometimes to deploy the model. And in that deployment, we might discover some limitations and you need to go out and get more data, bring back more evidence, and flesh out the model more thoroughly. I'm not sure that helped at all.
No, I think it was good. All right, so that was the Paradigm Lab. We have a next group, group 2, discourse. Why do we do it? How might it look different? And then looks like there was 10 comments. So something that happened I thought was really interesting was I was going around from group to group, and a lot of this, you know, after you did like, well, why do we do it? Why is it important? How might it look different? I think you guys switched like all your conversations to what are some tools I could use to do this thing? Like all of them like devolved into this like tool question. Like what are the appropriate tools? I'm not saying that's not good, because if you look later on the slides, we're going to talk about tools, right? But I think the question was more, you know, kind of like theoretical, like how might it look different? Less nuts and bolts, and what are the aspects of like discourse that might have to change? Like now, I think you're going to have to talk about tools in this eventually, but let's talk about a number 2. Who's group 2? Someone give us some highlights from your slide.
Yeah, I got voluntold to talk, so
Perfect.
I will do it. We did not put it on here that it was non-negotiable. What we just kind of assumed everyone would agree that this is non-negotiable, that discourse is some of the most important stuff that we do. And it's really important that the kids are talking to each other, you know, developing their understanding. the forcing students to examine their own thoughts and understandings as they're trying to verbalize what they're doing. And we think the whiteboard allows an easier way for students with different ideas to come together and use different representations to try to point out what they're thinking. So those are the things we were looking at. Things that are different, you know, how do we monitor understanding? One of the things we talked about is even with breakout rooms, you can't hear in, you know, like a lot of times we just circulate around the room and we're listening for those certain buzzwords that we know, oh, that's time to jump into that group and start a conversation. So it's kind of got to be a little bit of good luck that you pop into a room right when you need to hear something or whatever. So that's going to be something that's going to be trickier. We talked about in obviously the longer wait times as people in a large group on Zoom or whatever don't seem to talk very quickly. There's long pauses and stuff like that. So that's going to be something important. And we talked about those talk moves that we use to run a discourse, even though we thought that kind of went with group 5 teachers a facilitator, but we wanted to mention that is going to be important. And we think that you might have to be more explicit in those talk moves to get kids to really buy into the process that we're doing and trying to get it happening overtly in the discussion. And then also the big problem is what happens if you don't have all the kids synchronous. Asynchronous is probably going to be a thing. We have different people with different technology. You know, obviously schools in rural areas are going to have a lot more issues with connectivity than suburbs and things like that. So that's going to be something that's going to be an issue. So how can we get this discourse to happen when it's not happening all at once? And then we brought up participation points and things like that. And it looks like lots of good comments came back from this. Ransom, I'd be interested to hear what the waterfall technique is. What is that?
That was something that someone else in our group shared, but she said it was something along the lines of a teacher could give a prompt and everybody just waits till the teacher says go to actually hit the send button on their answer. And so all of the answers come in at once.
That's great. That's interesting.
In our group.
That's cool. Significant practice and modeling for sure. I agree with that. That I think anything we do is going to be important. I'm hoping Chuck is right that the slower pace of discussion might actually lead to improved talk moves. That'd be great. And then Flipgrid. I know a lot of people have been talking about that as a way for kids to do some sort of video discussion or something like that. I've heard a lot about Flipgrid. I haven't actually used it myself, but I just made an account yesterday, so I'm going to play around with it in the next couple of days and see what's going on. And Chuck, I think everyone agrees that we'd love to hear your discourse standard and see how you evaluate that.
I'll have to dig it up. Finding it may be easier than explaining how we evaluated it, but give it a shot.
It's like all good things.
Well, you know what? It's always been a question in every workshop that I've been a part of is, you know, do you or how do you grade this stuff? And grading is such a difficult topic to talk about for teachers for a couple reasons. One, we all take it so personally because we work so hard in the thinking about the way we're going to try to grade and assess students. You know, teachers aren't haphazard about this. And so when you try to talk about it, you know, anyone who wants to talk about it has to be so open to new ideas, which is challenging when you've put so much time and effort into your own ideas. And so that can be really hard. And then because you put so much time and effort into your own ideas, you hold them so closely. So anything that doesn't gel with the way you're thinking about it, it sounds really off to you. Like, well, I'm going to give participation points. I'm going to be like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Why would you give participation points? Like, how is their grade going to be, you know, determined by the fact that they just showed up? Like, you know, there's all these ideas that are out there and we don't have a good way to do it. And that's the problem. We don't have a good way to say, here's the way we should grade. Some of us have been on a certain path recently that's taken us to some places that are more comfortable than we were before, which is great. But I don't want to get too bogged down in that because we don't have great answers for that for you. So sorry. What about 3? What about group 3? Is there a brave soul, group 3, brave soul?
I'll start talking about group 3 and we'll see if somebody else wants to chime in for it. We dealt with deployment, and the first thing we talked about, was the left-hand side is it's non-negotiable. The idea of deployment being the implementation or the use of the created model to see if it actually holds water, but also the opportunity to see that model into a different context, a different environment than just what the Paradigm Lab showed. And so that's the key, that we're not just learning this one specific bit of data in this one specifically worded question. We're learning a system, the model that can be applied to different situations is the focus. And that's what really reinforces it. So it's the idea of learning and understanding the model versus understanding a question that relates to the model, just very specifically. So it's the idea of being able to understand it on a broader scale. We did devolve, go into some ideas on how we would work with that and how we would look at that deployment. That's why you can kind of see on our right-hand side, we started talking about whiteboards and some of the technology-based pieces and how they may be able to be utilized for this process.
Man, apparently I'm gonna have to check out Flipgrid. Lot of references to Flipgrid going on here today. But that's good. And I think that the deployment, if you think about the modeling cycle, I don't think it's like 1/2, development, 1/2 deployment. I think there's a lot more deployment than there is development. And historically we've used the worksheet or the practicum or some way for the students to engage in the new and different situations, which has been really good. I think it's going to have to look a little bit different. And this is where we have to be creative. If we say we still need to do deployment in a way where they're using their model in a new and different situation to, one, see if it works, see if it's consistent, and then be able to do things like solve problems. That's going to be an important idea. So, yeah, I mean, it's can't not. Awesome. Group 4, let's pause on group 4. Let's skip to group 5 and then we'll come back to group 4 in a minute. Somebody from group 5 want to give us some highlights from your slide, please? Is that no?
I guess I can jump in.
Thank you.
We had the one about teacher as a facilitator, and we spent a lot of time talking about how that would look, in the remote setting, because if we're thinking about using the breakout rooms, trying to be in every breakout room at the same time doesn't work. How do you know when students get stuck? How do you know they're having those conversations? But you really need to be that vehicle to drive the ship, know the path, even though the crew doesn't know the path, type of thing. How it helps foster the culture of learning, being kind of on the sidelines, things like that. I don't know if any of my group members want to chime in either.
Sorry, I'm reading the comments.
Yeah, I was getting into that too.
I think one of the challenges that we talked about was challenges associated with that.
Graham, could you say it a little louder? I missed it.
Yeah, I think one of the things we looked at or talked about were what does it look like asynchronously and challenges associated with that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think so. Asynchronous is its own little bit of an issue, right? How do you continue to put this main idea of the teacher as a facilitator, right, instead of a disseminator of information, and how do you keep that in the forefront? When I was in a workshop a couple weeks ago getting ready for this, and the question was, how did the remote teaching that you did in the spring compare to your normal kind of like modeling style instruction? And there were 20 or 30 of us on the call, and every one of us said the same thing. We reverted back to telling as teaching so much more, because we didn't have a way to not do that. All of a sudden it became like well, I'm just going to tell them what we need to know because it's got to be asynchronous anyway. And so I'm going to put it out there. And I found myself making like didactic videos for the students where I was like, the whole time I'm doing it, I'm just hating myself because I'm like, this is not, I don't feel genuine doing this. It's not, I know it's not leading to anything deep, but I didn't know what else to do. Right. I lost my focus as teacher, as a facilitator, but that doesn't mean it's not important. It just means I didn't know how to do it at the time. But I think that, moving forward, we're going to have to like focus on that a little bit and see how that goes. Because if teacher as facilitator is the thing that's important, then you have to make it a priority. And I don't want to lose sight of that. So we totally were in survival mode, 100%. All right, so let's talk about group 4 real fast. Does a brave soul want to volunteer in group 4? Tell us what you guys came up with from group 4, develop a culture of learning. Again, this was the most hard. Like this one was really, really challenging. Tell us what you guys came up with.
So I guess I'll go. Shoot. So just running through the slide, it says it takes collaboration and students must feel valued to feel comfortable and contribute. Certainly kids have to feel comfortable, and that's like one of the reasons why we do it. They need to feel comfortable talking in front of one another, even though some kids don't have too much of a problem talking at all, but talking about content is often another story. And then we said we wanted students to develop the growth mindset, and that they could learn essentially limitlessly. And then we wanted students to feel comfortable learning from each other. We can get to the end together was the quote. And then we also want students to buy into learning. So those are the things that why we do it and why we think it's important. And of course it's non-negotiable. I don't see how this could happen if we didn't develop a culture of learning. And some people in the comments agreed with the non-negotiability, if that's a word. And yeah, safety was a big thing. Even though one of the comments when Laura was in the room, I found it ironic that like in the online format, we were talking about the fact that some kids might not feel safe on their camera at home, but their home is supposed to be one of the safest places for them. And for them to not feel comfortable at home on their cameras, there's an irony there. And then certainly we want students to take risks, but also feel comfortable at the same time. And then students should be allowed to fail, Ransom said, without being graded. And then, of course, somebody mentioned Flipgrid again. Somebody commented about breakout rooms, how those would be important as kind of a tool. Brian mentioned camaraderie. And I think that's a question of how do you get that camaraderie in a learning spirit in a remote setting. And then Nell said, what might remote learning norms look like? I think that's a good point.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Well, to the extent that we have been taking time to do culture building in the class, like dedicated culture building, what I'm gonna challenge Brian to do is I think we need Brian to develop a remote culture building style workshop for us before the fall.
Yeah, I'll just whip that up this week.
Well, I didn't imply that it was going to be easy to do, but this is that moment where, you know, you've been on our team for 11 years now, have run multiple workshops on your own. You have an area of expertise, and we need you in this moment, right? And so I'm happy to work that out with you. But I think that the people here and the people that you teach with, and then anybody, right? If we ask Gallagher to, you know, post it on, you know, send it out like, hey, Brian Battaglia is running a culture building remote workshop for remote teaching and learning, hundreds of people would want to be on board with that. So no pressure, but if it's something that you're interested in, you let me know and we can work it out. Because I don't think it's less important now, is what I'm trying to say.
I think we have to have it done by August 7th, Brian.
I'm camping next week, so I'll have lots of time to sit and think about it. So
good. All right, Laura, where are we?
So I want to do some tool sharing at this point, but only in a different way than we did before, and not for too long. I do want to say something about culture, and I'm gonna kind of, I hope not to take too long, but for me, and you may have picked up on this if you don't know me, and some of you know me well, and some of you don't know me at all. I am not a very outspoken person in terms of, like, I'm not a very dynamic speaker, and I like to be in the background. And I want to speak to this because I think a lot of you, we all have varying personalities, and some of you probably feel like you can relate to me, and some of you are like, oh no, that's no problem for me to get up in front of kids, and I really connect with kids really well. And I have to work really hard to develop a culture of learning in my classroom and a safe culture in my classroom all year. And I feel generally successful at it every year with all my classes, even with the challenging groups. and so I just want to say, like, I feel like this particular remote setting makes us feel like we have to work even harder. And I really want to give you, you know, just a little bit of, you know, this is going to be harder to do, but I think we need to have to put the effort in to do it. And so, so I just wanted to put that out there, that, you know, some of us have a much easier time developing that culture than others. And I just want to put out there that this setting is going to be a real huge challenge for us. And to not take that lightly and sign up for Brian's workshop. So I know I will.
Oh, sorry.
There's a lot in the chat that I haven't seen yet.
Yes. Okay.
Lots of tools.
Lots of tools.
Okay. So we need to talk about that.
Yeah.
So we thought we would revisit the tools one more time. I took the tools list that you put together yesterday, and last night I sorted them into categories. And so I just want to, I think I'm still screen sharing, is that correct? So we have the tools for Paradigm Lab, tools for discourse, tools for deployment, tools for assessment. That's not part of our, what we thought were the hallmarks of modeling instruction, but they were there, so I thought they warranted their own category. Tools for culture building. And put miscellaneous tools, because some of these tools I'm not as familiar with, and maybe you feel like they fit somewhere that better than where I put them, but some of them I didn't have a place for them. I didn't have a place where I felt like it was a good place for them. So maybe you want to cut and paste and put them in a place where you feel it's appropriate. But the question is today, and we'll do this in a shorter breakout, is looking back at these tools. Now that we've spent some time really thinking of a framework for modeling instruction, thinking about how things might change virtually, the question is, how does this tool support the framework? And it might be that it doesn't. And that's okay if you still love this tool and you want to use it, but we want to make sure that we're thinking, are the tools that you're choosing to support modeling instruction, are they tools that really truly support the framework? And so we want to spend some time digging into this in a little bit deeper way. And so that's our plan for today. Don, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, so just when we talk, it says, how does it support the framework? The framework is the 5 aspects that we came up with earlier today. So it's paradigm lab, discourse, deployment, teachers, a facilitator, and developing a culture. So that's what you came up with. So that's the framework that we're going with, where it says, do these tools support the framework? And again, the answer may be no. And the real key here, and this is what I think the key to being an adult really is being just brutally honest with yourself in the end. Like, I spent years just fooling myself about so much about my life. And I mean, when you can sit yourself down and say like, no, this is really what's going on. That's what really has helped me. And I think that's really what's helped my instruction too. And I can say like, I really like to do this thing, but is it really in line with my core values? And when it's not, it's not. And then that's okay. But I want you guys to be really honest. So when you say, is this thing in line with, or how does this support the framework? If it doesn't, that's totally cool. And again, if you want to use, let's say, Edpuzzle, for example, you want to make videos and put little annotations in them and ask questions along the way, that's a cool thing. Does it support the framework? You'll have to decide. So we're going to put you into new random breakout groups, yes? And what are they doing? What are they physically doing?
Just discussing some of these tools, and really, do they support the framework? And if you want to write on the slides, that's fine. But I don't know that we're going to have a lot of time to do that, because we have one last thing we want to do that we think is important.
Okay. I forgot to put a timer on it.
Oh, that's all right. We can do it on the next one. Move one more. Go ahead. You want to stop recording for a minute?
You call Mom?
No, not yet. I've been working on this all day.
I'm sure you have.
Laura is a very deep thinker, but what happens is it takes a good amount of time to like work out the stuff that's in her head to make it something that happens here.
Okay.
That's why she and I work really nicely together, is she does most of the deep thinking. And then I'm able to like make it coherent in a way that it's like people can like access it and make it like nice, like, oh, this sounds okay. Because she doesn't like to like, and she will and can run a workshop on her own, but it's much easier for she and I to work together.
I know how much respect you have for her, and I know you've mentioned her a lot in the past and how much you enjoy working with her.
Yeah, she's pretty great. So again, this is just, this workshop just came out of a need for something, for somebody. Like, how do you even, hey, come here. Brooklyn, come here, babe. Brooklyn, come here, sweet.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, hold on.
Great.
Hold on. Come say hi.
Hi.
Who is that on the call?
Hey, Miss B. Hi. I saw your new haircut. You look great.
Grandma's here, so she put it in braids today. Turn around, let's see the French braid.
Nice. I wish Grandma could come to my house and do that for me. Marshall, what are you doing today?
What?
What are you doing today?
Nothing.
You did a ton today.
Oh, well, so I went fishing twice.
Today? With whom?
I'm with my grandpa. He's here.
Oh, okay.
And I caught a bass that I can eat. I like bass.
Eat it?
Yeah, they filleted and had it for lunch.
Oh, you already ate it? Who cleaned it?
What?
Who cleaned it?
Papa.
Oh, did you watch? Was it smelly?
And bloody.
Hey, no, it's my sister. Berkster, come here. Oh, I waved her over and she turned and ran the other direction. She's like, no, I'm not. She's like, I'm not doing that. Marshall crushed in his baseball game last night.
Of course you did.
Went 3 for 4.
And pitched 2 innings.
And pitched 2 innings of.
With the big kids? They're letting you pitch against the big kids?
Did you say hi to me today?
Hi.
Did you take anybody out?
Yeah, and I can pitch now, like.
Yeah.
Dexter? I still somehow couldn't pitch against Commerce. Love you.
Yeah.
You too. Hi, Dex.
Hi.
Anything new? Are you playing any new games? Are you doing any new stunts outside?
I'm gonna play a game in like an hour.
Okay. What kind of game?
A Little League game.
Oh, so you have that kind of game. Okay.
Oh, hey, Marsh, come back a second.
And I have a tournament in about 10 days or a week.
Where is
You guys say thank you for the birthday.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much for the disc golf.
No. She got you that Quicks.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
I did also contribute to the disc golf.
Oh, that's nice.
It's really cool.
They've been playing a lot of Quicks. Oh wait, Quicks Deluxe.
Yeah.
That's great.
A lot. I don't play with it.
I have never played. I would like to play.
I'll bring it over next time it comes. It's really fun.
Okay, good. I would like to.
Oh yeah.
Between Quicks and Kings in the Corner, they've been playing a lot.
That's awesome. Dex, where is your tournament going to be?
In Petoskey.
When? Next week?
Yeah.
No way. I am going to be up north next week. We are going to Orchard Beach for 2 days. Then we are going to Wilderness State Park for 2 days. And then we are going to Pictured Rocks for 3 days. Or 3 nights, I should say, whatever.
I've never experienced worse mosquitoes than at Wilderness State Park.
Thanks.
Just letting you know.
If it's awful, we might sleep in the truck. There's
Well,
plenty.
I mean, as long as you're prepared, but we were not. Actually, we had worse mosquitoes in Maine, but it's Maine, so what do you? Yeah, we were in Wilderness State Park, and we just couldn't even believe the mosquitoes. We're like, what is happening?
They actually had a thing on one of the campsites up there, I think the one by Sleeping Bear Dunes, where they said the flies are awful. Be prepared.
Yeah, I don't. Can you even spray for that ahead of time?
No.
You just need to wear appropriate clothing.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds about
We're
right.
leaving Sunday.
And so you're going to where?
We're going to Orchard Beach, which is by Manistee.
Oh, nice.
We're going to go to Wilderness State Park. And then we're going to go to this campground called Otter Lake, which is south of Munising, and we're going to do Pictured Rocks.
Sounds great.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. Munising's an interesting town. Have you ever been there?
We went on the Pictured Rocks boat tour one day when we took on Falls, and I mean, I didn't spend any time in the town.
It's just a little town. Like it's just this tiny little town that they do Pictured Rocks. Like that's what happens there.
Yeah. So we're going to ride our bikes. We're going to do some hiking. Just get off the grid for a couple days.
I think that's a great idea. Let me ask Laura how. So we should have made 2 groups. Like there's 14 in the physics group. We should have made 2 physics groups, but that's something that I didn't, like, you can't anticipate that. But now you know, so the next time you're like, yeah. I asked her, I'm like, how long do you need? She's like, we're on Paradigm Labs. So that's probably the beginning.
So the Paradigm Lab, like that's the main thing. Like that Paradigm Lab is going to take a week.
No, so the Paradigm Lab itself, depending on the complexity of the lab, the doing of the lab itself may take a day, or the setup and execution might take a day and a half. And then you like collect all your data and then analyze the data, and then you're going to present the data to each other. So that's like maybe a 3-day process, right? Depending again on how complex it is. And so, but the doing of the lab, the analysis of the lab, and the debriefing of the lab, those are like the 3 separate stages of it. But it should really, I mean, depending on how complex it is and how much you make it, maybe it could be a week. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, so that's how the unit starts. And so we always rely back on say, hey, remember that thing that we did? It's always the concrete anchor. We say, we had this experience. How does this new thing that we're doing, how is it the same? How is it different than the Paradigm Lab? And it's what really informs our understanding. And if we need to introduce any new abstract representational tools, they would happen there. Like, well, how can we really represent this motion? Well, an arrow might be good because it will tell us the direction we're going. And if you make it longer or shorter, it might indicate how fast you're going. So like those kind of things.
Okay.
It's chaos behind me because they're going to Brooklyn's game.
Oh, okay.
But it's nice out. I thought it was going to rain.
It rained earlier. We're done.
Yeah. Oh my God. Now I'm tired.
I'll bet you are. My brain fudged yesterday after this workshop. I hadn't been thinking like this in such a long time.
Yeah. Oh, I ran into Bruveris yesterday. He's an administrator of district, right?
Oh, how's he doing?
Badly, obviously, but good because you know, everyone's okay and they're moving forward. But you wanted me to say hi. And his boys are my boys' age. I didn't know that. They're 10 and 8, and they're all playing in the same Petoskey tournament next weekend. So he'll be there with his boys. Amanda will be there with my boys, and I don't know if the teams ever play because there's a lot of teams in that tournament.
Be there?
I'm not going. I don't go. I don't go to baseball. I mean, sometimes I do, but only if it's local. I got to be home with the girls. The tournament games are Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I might be able to find out here. Like, there's apps, you know what I mean, for these.
I think we're going to be up in the UP at that point.
It looks like Marshall's team plays on the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. Is that Thursday, Friday, Saturday? I bet it is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I bet Dexter's is the same. Oh. I think she just called me and then hung up on me.
She might have called you by accident. Yeah, we'll be past Petoskey at that point.
Mm.
In our grand tour up north.
Well, I love the fact you guys are going up north, especially like up to the UP. you know, it's just so like once you cross that bridge, it just there's nothing, and it's just nothing. So you're gonna, did you say you're going to Manistee also?
Yeah, that's what we're doing first. We're gonna hopefully kayak.
That's another really like interesting tiny little town. Have you ever been there? It's weird. Like it's
No.
There's a brewery in that town called North Channel Brewing
Sounds yummy.
that I really liked when we were there.
I will write it down on my camping list.
North Channel Brewing.
Okay. But they're not by a channel.
They are.
Those people should be like on Harson's Island or something, or up in St. Clair.
So the channel is, it connects, what river is this? I'm looking at the map now. It's a very long river. Okay.
It's the Manistee River, isn't it?
I can only imagine. So the Manistee River, and then there's a lake called Manistee Lake, and then there's a channel that connects Manistee Lake to Lake Michigan.
Yes, I see it.
Yeah.
We're going to be camping at Orchard Beach, which is just north of there. That's why I said we're going to Manistee.
Oh yeah, Orchard Beach State Park.
Yes.
Oh, that's real close.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
That's our plan.
That's fantastic. Yes, I did not. Go ahead.
2 weeks off. A week for us to go camping, and then he's got another week off to just fish and have fun.
That's amazing.
He's been working for Detroit Diesel for forever, so he has tons of vacation time.
Hey, you know what? Good on him. Yeah, Dexter's games are also Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Well, good luck to them.
Oh, they're not good. And at least they didn't play good the other day. I mean, Dexter's hit or miss. Like, if you, like, in the hitting, like, if he hits it, it's going to go far. But he's just as prone to strike out. And then he was pitching the other day and was throwing, like, hard strikes and then hit, like, 5 kids.
How's the potty training going?
Oh, one day she's just like, I'm good. I'm ready to potty train now. And that was it. Just one day. And it was just the craziest thing. I thought I was going to die. Or like,
are you still like in the stage of asking her every other hour, like, do you need to go? Or
no, now she just tells us, time to go potty.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been crazy. But that's been like a whole week now that she's been just like doing her own thing.
That was easy.
Yeah, well, it ended up being easy. So we had this little Thomas the Tank Engine potty, and as soon as we got that out, she was like, oh. And like that was what turned it around for her. Like it was like her place to like do her thing. And yeah, okay, I'm gonna give 2 more minutes. We're gonna bring these people back because I want them to wrap up. And it's already like 5 o'clock.
It's 1:45, almost.
Isn't it crazy? Like this is 3 hours, and like I'm a little tired. It feels like 3 hours, but at the same time, it's like 3 hours to just like.
I know. It's like going on a long car ride.
Yeah.
So is Amanda still on the district committee to plan what's going on for your district?
Yeah, they did all their work, and the district has been publishing some information about it.
So like, do you get like a sneak peek?
No, I got the regular peek. I knew what she and her committee were working on, but there were 3 different committees. One about how we're going to do the learning, one about like what the structure should look like, and then there was another one. I don't know what the other one was about. Like, I don't know how you have 1,000 kids in the halls at one time at the high school. Someone needs to work out the logistics of that, right?
I know that it's different for elementary and high school. I only need to see my students about once a week. So I think I could see 1/5 of my students every day of the week. And then we won't have 1,000 kids in the hall. If your last name starts with A through E, you come on Monday.
Yeah. So I don't know, like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what kind of creative logistics they've made up for the school day. I don't know what they're planning for the elementary kids. Like, and part of me is like, I'm pretty sure I could dig deeper into their plans and like figure out what the actual specifics are. But most of me says like, I'm just going to wait till late August and then see what do I need to know, and go from there. But I am also under the impression that either we're going to be remote from day one, or it's going to be like 3 weeks until someone in the school comes down with it, and then they're going to close again. And I think I'm going to volunteer at the district level, because they decided that they're going to do, you're a high school kid, you can choose to do 100% online or 100% in the classroom.
Yes.
And I think I was talking to Laura about this. I think I'm going to volunteer to do the online classes, because
Your
what if,
virtual academy?
yeah, what if one of my kids gets sick?
Right.
Or one of the kids in the classroom gets sick, and I mean, I can't not
They
be
told
home.
us that our virtual academy teachers have to go into work.
Yeah.
That you're working from the school building.
So I'm the virtual academy teacher for my school. And the in-person teacher. I get to do both simultaneously.
I thought we were all going to have to do both simultaneously.
Well, I think it depends what your district is choosing to do. Because my children's district is not choosing that. They're choosing something more like what Don's describing.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that they were just going to tell me like, this many of your kids are doing virtual, so you have to accommodate them. And then this many of your kids are going to be in your classroom, so you have to plan something for them. And I thought, no, everybody's just going to do the same thing.
Yeah, and we'll see. Again, the school districts are scrambling because they don't really know anything, and they're trying to make the best decisions they can, but they don't know what they're doing.
Well, I volunteered to be on our district's committee to figure out what we're going to do for high school math to make it through a year's worth of content, regardless of how we're doing it. So cut. I'm already thinking about it.
How did it go in there?
It went well. It started out really weird because we had 14 of us trying to all talk at once, and then it kind of sorted itself out. So, but it was good. They're still stuck on the paradigm labs. They kind of moved into deployment things too, and I said my piece and then left the room. So like I often do. So I made the last point I made was if we really think that what we do is important to connect the real world to the model that we're constructing, then you've got to do some things in the real world with the students, because they're all virtual, right? And everybody's struggling because the resources are limited, and student access and equity and all of the things that we worry about, right, in this format are all an issue. But it's, but I think we just have to think really hard about it. So, I don't know.
Well, you ready to bring them back?
I think so. I think because we want to share that last slide, and I'll copy that over for them to take the survey, and then maybe some last words and some thoughts again today.
Yeah.
Just do the same shared thinking as last time. I don't know. I can't talk anymore.
That's fine.
So, okay.
They're coming back.
Yeah.
So it's set for come back in a minute, but they'll see that the breakout room is ending in a minute and start coming back on their own, which is a fine setting. I like it as a host better when you shut that off and you just yank them back mid-sentence, but I don't like that as a participant.
I don't either.
So.
Laura, thank you for including me in this workshop. I learned a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad you got a chance to attend, and yeah, this has been really good.
Well, look at this. Whatever's happening must be serious, because
they're not leaving.
They didn't come back.
My kid's screaming right now, so I don't think she's injured though. I did look out the window to see. It sounds like it's more of a, I'm having a meltdown and I need a nap, but
Yeah, that was a good observation. That's all that's necessary.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
That's how I watch my kids, with my ears.
Which cry is it, right? Oh, right. No, that's a, she didn't share her toy. Okay, we're good. Really loud.
Graham, I like your away picture.
Thanks. That's what I used. It's my G Suite for my school account icon.
Are we doing the same thing, Don?
Oh my
We
God.
just did the same thing.
Did we literally just do the same thing?
I think we just did.
Okay, that's day 2.
Yeah. That's what you had in there, so I just copied it.
Oh, sorry.
It's getting to 5 o'clock now.
Yeah, we're running out of gas. All right. Are we all
I
back?
just remember that TV show that was on like MTV. It was claymation, like wrestling battles between like celebrity deathmatch. That was it, right?
Celebrity deathmatch. Yes.
I want to see a celebrity deathmatch with Ransom and John's beards. I think that would be epic.
So good. You know, I find this Zoom thing interesting because like we've spent like 6 hours together, and it's exactly the same, only different than if we had spent 6 hours together, right? There are some aspects that are like the same, and then like we are far apart from each other, which is just, it's crazy to me. So just before we wrap this up, we got about 8 minutes. I just want to say thanks. You guys really brought everything that we wanted you to bring to this. Your heart and your energy and your brain, and it made it awesome for all of us, and just really say thank you. Hopefully you got something out of the lesson planning. I think that's good. Laura, did you want to talk about the lesson planning at all? Was there anything more?
I don't know. I mean, we didn't get very far. We didn't have as much time as we were hoping for it, but that's okay. I think it's started in our thinking, and I think that was the most important thing. And perhaps if you would like to, someone wants to share a link to that planning document in slide 46 for others. And then maybe you can continue to put some thoughts in there together if you want, or someone can see what you're thinking if they are in 2 content areas and didn't get a chance to be in both rooms. So
a good idea. So just paste in slide 46. If you have a link to the document you're working on, that would be nice. That way everyone can have access to it. So I'm looking at slide 47 now. It says, screen share. So again, I want to reflect. We don't have as much time to do it today as we did the other day, but where are we at emotionally? What are we wondering? And I used to think, and now I think. Would someone like to share just a real quick reflection?
I wanted to share that I'm still feeling really overwhelmed with, the year coming up, but at the same time, I feel like the collaboration and that support definitely helped. And I've got some ideas now going and mulling in my brain that I think is going to help as well.
Thank you, Alana. I am also feeling slightly overwhelmed, but I'm past the overwhelm. Sometimes I get overwhelmed and then paralyzed, and I feel like I've gotten over the hump now. I'm still a little bit overwhelmed, but at least I feel like I have a path forward now, and so I'm feeling a little bit better.
I feel like this definitely helped.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Definitely helped.
Well, even if it just spurred your thinking on, right?
I
Just
think I've been to a lot of conferences and have done a lot on tools, but I needed this to kind of go back to the modeling to really get a sense of this is what's important. So I really appreciated yesterday a lot more, and it kind of helps narrow me down a little bit more on what I want to do next year. So thank you.
I think everything so far has been focused on the what, and this is the first one that kind of refocused us on the why, which is really makes the what easier to process, because I don't need all 80 tools that have been shared. You know, I need 3 or 4 that I can really tool to what I want to do, and now I know what I'm looking for. I need a app that does this specific task, so now I can evaluate it easier. So I think it's going to be a much more productive next couple of weeks.
Better to use 1 or 2 tools really well and with depth than to use 17 on the surface.
yeah, because that would just overwhelm the students anyway, right? I mean, they're going to want to be able to use a smaller amount of tools more meaningfully for themselves. Well, as we go forward here, let me stop this share. As we go forward, I want to let you know a couple things. One, again, we totally appreciate you being here. It has meant a lot to Laura and I, because we put a lot into this, but we do it because we know you guys want that. And the fact that you brought so much to this is great. I know the next month and a half is going to be really hard. It's going to be hard for all of us. And it's never going to be perfect. The things you try are going to be garbage at first. You'll be like, this didn't work. And then you're like, I'm going to revise. I'm going to try again. But I want you to be brave and do that. I don't want you to say to yourself, like, it's never going to be perfect, so I'm not going to do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. But the kids need you right now. Like, that's the thing that I don't want you to forget. No matter how much I get in my head, it always comes back to the fact that the kids need you right now. In fact, they need you more than they ever have, because when they're in the classroom, you can attend to them. And when they're not there, they still need you, and they probably need you more. So no matter how hard this gets, I want you to keep that in mind, that you're there for them. That's the job. No one ever told you that was the job, but it turns out that is the actual job, is it's the kids. And so no matter how hard it gets and how crazy it gets, I want you to like keep that in mind, that we're there for them. And that's really important. So, Laura?
I think you summed it up. I don't know if there's more to add there. I do have a question for Brian about the Slack channel that he's proposing in the chat. So can you speak to that really quick? What is that?
Sure. So Slack is like a collaboration software. It's an app on your phone.
Okay.
I use it with my robotics team and my other modeling computational thinking. We have a Slack channel. So it's basically a thing, and we could even put little sub channels for different things like, you know, assessments or whatever if we wanted to do that. I would not have a problem setting that up and sending it out, and anybody who wants to be part of it could be part of it.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, we'll make sure it gets out to people once you set it up. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's free. It's pretty good.
All right, well, it's that time then. On slide 48 is today's sketch. I will put it in the chat also. Make sure you fill that out. The next couple of workshops that we're planning, one on conceptual change, the other on culture building. We'll make sure that Mike gets those out to you guys. Join the Slack channel. We'll probably put them there also, because that's a cool thing now that we're doing. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
All right, well, once you fill out the form, you guys are free to go, and hopefully we'll see you next time we're remote.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody, thank you very much.
You're so
Thanks, guys.
welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Don. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks,
everybody.
Nell. See ya.
So let's talk about the bus.
Feeling thrown under it right now.
that you just drove over me with there, Don.
Well, I mean, to be honest, we need a culture development workshop.
No, that'd be cool. That's cool. And Chuck has already expressed interest in working on something too, and Mike has already texted me about it. So we'll get something going. That was
happens
quick.
quickly with Mike, It's just, before you know it, a day later you're doing a workshop and you didn't even know it was happening.
I'm going to do something, and I'm not kidding about the 7th being the deadline. So let's talk this week.
I mean, you should have said no from the first words out of your mouth should have been no, but the fact that you hesitated, all it took.
That's right.
Well, I do think it's an important thing, which is why I am on board doing that, because I think there's something that needs to happen, and I think that collaboration like this is definitely a good way to start the conversation. And even if we don't figure it out, I don't think we solved much with the last 2 days, but I think we definitely pushed everybody in the right direction to get to a place where they can solve it. Like, I don't think there's a solution. I think maybe we'll have a solution by June when it's all over and we figured it out.
But is there really, we know that we prefer modeling instruction in the classroom, but is there ever really a solution to all the problems that we experience in education? So
it's just working a little bit more each time. So.
Right, and you know how the workshops go in my school district. It's like in my situation, I'm fully online. In my situation, I'm going to be 6 feet. And so.
All right.
But Don, you said the next 6 weeks are going to be crazy for people. Sharon starts school next week.
That's crazy. Man.
She's in her building with teachers next week. Kids on the 10th.
Yeah, I'm August 29th or something.
We're supposed to be like the 31st or whatever that day is. But we don't have kids until like September 8th. So
we're
going to know our expectations by the 15th. We're good. We're all good in the hood.
All right, you guys. See ya.
Let's roll. Bye.
All right, thanks.
Take care.
Bye, guys. See ya.
See ya.
Wanted to say thank you, guys. You were awesome. Thanks for this.
No problem, Danny. Right. Good luck. We'll see you soon.
All right. Time to plan the next one.
No kidding. I'm going to stop recording.